Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room as we look forward to what promises to be another wonderful, wonderful weekend of sport. Already there's action underway in the cricket where the Ashes has started day one of the Test match in Perth. Tomorrow, of course, South Africa are in action in the second Test match in India. And there's a whole host of local and international cricket, as well as Grand Prix motor racing, Davis Cup, rugby, and the Premier League is back. But let's have a look at the cricket fixtures for the weekend. As I mentioned already, the Ashes currently underway, and when we recorded this program for you this evening, England had been bowled out for 172 in their first innings after winning the toss. And that was thanks to a magnificent bowling performance by the Australians and Mitchell Starc in particular. Ashes series figures of 7 for 58 in 12 overs and 5 balls. Quite magnificent bowling performance by him. He ripped through the England top order and really put them under a huge amount of pressure. If you look at the scores, Zach Crawley didn't get a run. Neither did Joe Root, which is not something that happens very often. Ollie Pope got 46 and Ben Duckett got 21, with Harry Brook getting 52. But for the rest, Jamie Smith's 33 was the only other player that got into double figures. Jofra Archer was not out naught. Mark Wood scored a duck. Angus Atkinson got 1, and Brighton Coss was on 6 of just 9 deliveries. So tremendous performance by the Australian side, bearing in mind they are, of course, missing their captain as well. Steve Smith is captain for the match at the moment. And they had a change at the top of the order. Jake Weatherald and Manus Labuschagne opened the batting for them. Steve Smith came in at 3, and Usman Khawaja was due in at 4. Travis Head, Cameron Green, Alex Carey, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyons, Scotty Boland, and Brendan Doggett. I'm guessing Doggett or Boland, one of the two, would have been included in that side in place of the skipper. As far as the other test matches are concerned around the world, well, I can tell you that the fixtures are fast and furious now as far as test cricket are concerned. Of course, South Africa, India get underway 5:30 a.m. South African time tomorrow morning. It will be the first test match in history where tea will be taken before lunch. That is how the system is going to work in Guwahati tomorrow, due to the fact that the sun sets very early in India, in that part of the world. Similar, I guess, to Kingsmead in Durban, where unfortunately they never get started early enough and they always end up losing play at the end of the day. So that is the other test match that is underway, or will be underway tomorrow. There's also action today. Western Province play the Lions in a T20 challenge. The Eastern Cape play the Six Gun Grill Garden Route Badgers, and the Titans play the Dolphins. And then tomorrow, it's the Tuskers against Boland. New Zealand play the West Indies in the third one-day international, while Pakistan plays Sri Lanka in the third match of their competition. That, of course, is a tri-series with Zimbabwe. And then the action continues on Sunday, where the Dolphins play the Lions. The Knights will play whoever gets through into the final of the competition in that division. And Pakistan will play Zimbabwe in that tri-series as well. And then moving into next week, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe will continue on Tuesday. And then New Zealand play the West Indies in a warm-up match, that the New Zealand 11 against the West Indies men. Of course, that is before the test match that will get underway. Bangladesh also in action next week with a match against Ireland. And believe it or not, come the 30th, the test series done and dusted, South Africa will be playing one-day internationals and T20s against the Indians, where clearly all the money lies at the moment. So that is that one. Of course, there was action yesterday. Sri Lanka 95 all out after Zimbabwe posted 162 for 8. Zimbabwe winning by 67 runs in that tri-series game. So great performance there by the Zimbabweans. Looks as though at the moment, Zimbabwe and Pakistan, the two sides there, although Pakistan are doing exceptionally well for themselves, and obviously are hopefully for them, for their sake, bearing in mind the competition is in Pakistan, cruising towards the final of that tri-series competition. Well, let's talk tennis now, shall we? And of course, the Davis Cup is underway, and Spain and Germany have reached the Davis Cup semi-finals. They will face off in the semi-finals after their respective last 8 ties in Bologna. Spain beating the Czech Republic and Germany beating Argentina. The Spaniards came back from a match down to beat the Czech Republic 2-1. Germany's world number 3 Alexander Zverev saw off the Argentinians, his team also winning it by 2 matches to 1. Spain's biggest star, Carlos Alcaraz, pulled out of the tournament early in the week. He has a hamstring injury suffered during his defeat to Yannick Sinner in the title match of the ATP Finals on Sunday. The 6-time Grand Slam champion said in the aftermath of that defeat that his hamstring hadn't affected him, even though it was strapped up during a medical timeout. The world number 1 is one of 3 top 10 players to have dropped out of the Davis Cup finals in northern Italy, where fans have also been denied the chance to see Sinner and Lorenzo Musetti play for Azzurri. Former Olympic champion Zverev is the highest-ranked player left at the Davis Cup finals. Now, Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz amongst the world's top players calling for the Davis Cup to return to traditional home and away format and be staged over 2 years, a proposal backed by the ATP chairman Andrei Gaudenzi. The old format of home and away ties played over a few days every year was scrapped by the International Tennis Federation back in 2019, and this year's Final 8 in Bologna began 2 days after Sunday's ATP Finals decider in Turin. And South Africa, of course, in the Davis Cup, they will play Montenegro in February next year. That's great delight from their captain, Pity Norval, after the team were drawn against Montenegro for the Group 2 playoffs to be played on home soil the 6th to the 8th of February next year, while the South African side are ranked 60th, 25 places higher than Montenegro in the international team competition. Pity Norval said they would not be taking their competition or their opposition lightly either. Now, as far as other tennis news is concerned, the greatest of all time in my eyes, perhaps not in yours, but be that as it may, we all have our opinion. Roger Federer will be inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in an induction ceremony, which, not quite sure why they're announcing it now, only set for 2026 August in Newport, Rhode Island, according to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Federer, let me remind you, won 20 Grand Slams, the first male player to reach the benchmark, clinched 103 career titles before retiring in 2022, holding the world record number 1 ranking for a record 237 consecutive weeks between 2004 and 2008. According to Federer, it's a tremendous honor to be inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame and to stand alongside so many of the game's great champions. To be recognized in this way by the sport and by his peers is deeply humbling. The Swiss held the top spot in the ATP rankings for 310 weeks during his career and had long rivalries with Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, the other 2 in the big 3 of men's tennis at the time. Throughout his career, he's always valued the history of tennis and the example set by those who came before him. He looks forward to visiting Newport next August to celebrate the special moment with the tennis community. Can you believe that Roger is now 44 years of age? 44 years of age. And a global players advocacy group co-founded by Novak Djokovic has said that they were close to settling with Tennis Australia, in its case accusing some governing bodies of being a cartel that underpays and imposes an unsustainable schedule. Professional Tennis Players Association filed a class action lawsuit in March, saying the ATP, WTA, International Tennis Federation, and International Tennis Integrity Agency had indulged in anti-competitive prices and showed disregard for player welfare. Organisers of the 4 Grand Slam events, including the Australian Open, were added to the case in September. The men's ATP Tour has previously said it believed the case was without merit, while the women's WTA Tour defended its record of growing women's tennis and said the lawsuit was baseless. This week, lawyers for the PTPA, co-founded in 2020 by Novak Djokovic and Vasek Popisil, filed a letter to the U.S. Southern District Court in New York saying there had been fruitful talks with the organisers of the Australian Open. The letter added that the stay request would apply only to Tennis Australia, not the other defendants. Tennis Australia have confirmed the developments. Are those big players bullying tennis federations around the world? Who knows? Right, let's move our attention now to golf, and South Korean Lee So-mi grabbed the LPGA Championship lead, firing an 8 under par 64, a two-stroke lead over American Alison Corpuz after the opening round of the LPGA Tour Championship. She birdied 7 of the first 15 holes and eagled the par 5 17th before closing with a bogey at the Tiburon Golf Club in Naples in Florida in the United States. The $11 million event features 60 players who qualified during the season, chasing the LPGA's biggest prize of $4 million. The top-ranked defending champion Gino Titkul of Thailand shared third on 67, with Japan's Nasa Hataoka and South Koreans Kim Se-young and Im Ji-hee. World number 50 Lee, a 26-year-old from Wando, won her first LPGA title in June at the Dow Championship Pairs event alongside Im, and shook off the nerves of the first Tour Championship. Great performance by her, and well done to her as well. Now, as far as the men's issue, as far as the US PGA Tour is concerned, it was a fantastic day for Doug Kim. He came close to breaking 60. Doug Kim, Davis Thompson, and Philippines' Rico Hoey tied atop the first ground leaderboard at the RSM Classic, the finale of the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup Fall Series. Kim, Thompson, and Hoey stand at 10 under par after the first day of the event at Sea Island Golf Club in St. Simons Island in Georgia. Kim played the par 70 Seaside course and threatened a 59 thanks to a late string of birdies before he settled for a 60. Thompson and Hoey began with the par 72 Plantation course and carded bogey-free 62s. The trio are one stroke ahead of Andrew Putnam and Andrew Novak, who fired 9 under par 61s at the Seaside course. All golfers play one round on each course before the 36-hole cut to the tournament. And veteran Harris English is following whatever it takes is what it takes philosophy when it comes to rumored changes for the betterment of the PGA Tour. That includes the hint on Wednesday at possibly moving the annual start of the season to after the Super Bowl, so customary tournaments in Hawaii on the West Coast will not have to vie with the NFL playoffs for attention. He said sometimes change is good. He says he wants all the best players playing together more often. English, a massive fan of the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars, joined the PGA Tour in 2012 and has 5 victories, including the Farmers Insurance Open in January this year at Torrey Pines in San Diego. He acknowledged his history of early season success and his enjoyment for the event in Hawaii, so he wouldn't like that at all if they were taken off the schedule. Now let's talk about the golf schedule for the weekend. As I've mentioned, there is currently action at the RSM Classic. Then, of course, on the Vodacom Origins of Golf Tour at the Pazula Golf Estate. That tournament runs through until Monday, and then no action at the moment on the DP World Tour. They're all on a long flight to Australia, where they're off to the Royal Queensland Golf Club in Brisbane, Australia, for the BMW Australian PGA Championship, and the week after that, the 4th to the 8th of December, at the Gary Player Country Club at Sun City, Nedbank Golf Challenge, and the same weekend, Tiger Woods' tournament, the Hero World Challenge in Albany this year. So lots of golfing action still to come. Right, let's talk Formula One. And normally on our Friday evening preview, we don't really have much time to discuss how things have gone on the track. We do today because, of course, the time difference between us and Las Vegas, where the Grand Prix is almost 10 hours. So a lot of action, particularly by virtue of the fact that the racing is Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Vegas, which means the main race is at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, Central African time. But it does mean that they've already gone out their day Thursday. Of course, today is our day Friday. They will go out much later tonight around midnight Central African time. But they've already been out for both practice sessions, practice 2. And Lando Norris will be delighted by the fact that he is the fastest ahead of Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, Nico Hulkenberg, Isaac Hadjar, Liam Lawson, George Russell, Alex Albon, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, that's the top 10. You haven't heard the name of his title contender yet. Lance Stroll 11th, Pierre Gasly 12th, Carlos Sainz 13th, and Oscar Piastri was only 14th quickest, almost a second behind his teammate and championship leader at the moment. Now, I do believe that there was a different setup for the two cars and that Norris was riding or driving a car with a different wing to what Piastri was. And the reason for that was they wanted to see which wing was going to suit the cars better. And I'm presuming at the moment they will go for the wing that's on Lando Norris's car. So practice tomorrow is going to be very interesting indeed. What is interesting is Kimi Antonelli, way ahead of George Russell, and Mercedes believe, having won last year, they had a first and second last year, that this is the circuit that they believe they can get a victory on. So big weekend coming up for not only for Lando Norris, but also, of course, for the title contenders, or what's left of them. To be honest, it's really only Oscar Piastri. I think Max Verstappen has a very outside chance. But the second practice for the Las Vegas Grand Prix today was also red flagged as well, as Norris, as I say, was quickest around the 6.2 kilometer circuit when the track was opened again. And once again, this is not the first time it's happened. It was red flagged because of a loose manhole cover. The cars returned to the track for 6 minutes, time enough to Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, to end his session behind a safety car due to a gearbox issue before a final red flag concluded the session early. The Monegascan was third in a session where many of the drivers did not have a soft tyre run, including Piastri, who was 14th, 0.891 seconds adrift of his title rival Lando Norris. He is 34 points clear. Piastri was rather 34 points clear after winning the Dutch Grand Prix in August and has not managed a podium finish in the past 5 races. Now, Norris cannot secure the World Championship crown this weekend. He could repeat the 4-time world champion Max Verstappen, could push him out, okay, as the Dutchman enters 49 points adrift. Bearing in mind just 3 races to go in 1 sprint race. Verstappen was 9th in the second session, a half a second off the pace. A lack of grip marked the opening session of the Las Vegas Strip as many cars skidded or failed to brake in some corners, and Norris even touched the wall in an incident without any consequences. So after retaking the lead of the Drivers' Championship with his commanding victory in Mexico, Lando Norris bolstered his position at the top of the leaderboard thanks to a hugely successful Sao Paulo Grand Prix, in which he triumphed in the sprint race as well. 390 points, 24 points over his McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri, who has also matched him in terms of victories this year, both having claimed 7 Grand Prix apiece. Red Bull's Max Verstappen, 49 points adrift. All 3 drivers remain mathematically in contention for the crown as the Formula One circus is in Las Vegas. On the strip, bright lights, fast cars, wonderful, magnificent. 6 a.m. in the morning, if you are interested in watching that. Okie dokie, let's turn our attention now, shall we, to rugby. And the last time the Springboks were in Dublin in November of 2022, the man who will make his 50th appearance for the Boks tomorrow, RG Snyman, was in the midst of recovering from a long-term knee injury. But he was a regular visitor at the hotel that week, and he took the Bokkamp experience on as a guest. He came up from Limerick to spend time with the national team. He was at the time a Munster player before he moved to the capital to play for Leinster. That period was part of a 4-year absence from Test rugby, which spanned from the 2019 Rugby World Cup final to the 2023 Test match between the Boks and Australia at Loftus Versfeld. Tomorrow he will run out for his 50th appearance in a Springbok jersey. Let's have a look at the 2 teams for tomorrow. And Rassie Erasmus has put out, possibly barring the odd suspended player and maybe an injury here and there, the strongest team. If he was running out for a World Cup final tomorrow, it would most probably look like this. There might just be 1 or 2 players that he might have changed, but I don't think the starting 15 would be much different to the one that's going out tomorrow. Obviously, Oxenche would be in that side, of no doubt, but he, of course, is injured. But the backs look like this. Damian Willemse will run out at fullback. Caelan Moody and Cheslin Colby will be on the wing, with Jesse Creel and Damian Lendi in the centre pairing. The halfback pairing of Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu and Corbus Reinach. Jasper Visser at 8. Peter Steph du Toit and Sia Kolisi will be on the flanks. Rowan Nokia and Eben Etzebeth will be locking the scrum, with Thomas du Toit, Melker Marks and Bowen Venter in the front row. On the bench, Johan Grobler, Gerrit Steenkamp and Wilco Low. RG Snyman, who, as I say, will run out for the 50th time. Quagga Smith, Andre Esterhuizen, who will operate as a back and a flanker. Grant Williams at scrum half, and Mani Lebok is the utility back. Most probably, if he does come on, he'll come on at fly half. Feinberg, Ngomazulu, or Willemse, or Colby. There's such a vast array of riches in that Springbok team. He can move around his backline as he wishes, Rassie Erasmus. As far as the Irish are concerned, Mac Hansen at fullback, Tommy O'Brien and James Lowe on the wings, with Gary Ringrose and Bundy Aki in the centre, Sam Pendergast at fly half, Jamison Gibson Park at scrum half, Seelan Doris, Josh van der Flyer, Ryan Baird are on the loose forwards, Tag Byrne, who of course was incorrectly sent off in the game against the All Blacks. James Ryan are the locks, with Tad Furlong, Dan Sheehan and Andrew Porter in the front row. And then on the bench, Ronan Kelleher, Paddy McCarthy, Finlay Beelum, Cian Pendergrast, Jack Conan, Craig Casey, Jack Crowley and Tom Farrell. It promises to be an absolute beaut of a game of rugby tomorrow evening. And for me, most probably the most difficult game the Springboks will play on tour. That is not the only rugby tomorrow. There's Georgia against Japan. There's also Wales against New Zealand. That game at 5:10. Springboks match against the Irish is at 8:20. Italy play Chile at 10:10, and at the same time, France against Australia. But the big game for the weekend, if you are a neutral, and one that I am tipping an upset in, I believe Argentina are going to beat England. Yes, England are on a long run, but I think Argentina have got one over the Springboks, Australia, the All Blacks, and I think that they can go out there and beat England at the weekend. Of course, they've also beaten Scotland in a magnificent comeback performance last weekend. That is Sunday's game at 6:10. Taking place at Twickenham in London. It's also, incidentally, the same time, of course, that Spurs are taking on Arsenal or at least Arsenal are taking on Spurs in the Arsenal Stadium, the Emirates Stadium, for that big clash, that London derby. Which brings me to this weekend's football. We will talk about the Premier League in a moment, but what's happening on the local scene, let's have a look and see what's going on. So Saturday sees AmaZulu play Siwelele in the Premier League in South Africa. Maruma Gallants at 6 o'clock take on Sikakuni United. Sunday sees TS Galaxy play Golden Arrows and Richards Bay take on Durban City. And then matches in midweek. Tuesday, Orlando Pirates play Chipper United. And Wednesday sees Orbit College play Stellenbosch FC before the next round of fixtures next week. Now, as far as the football in South Africa is concerned, of course, fixtures this weekend in the Premier League. And then next week, the 6th of December, Saturday the 6th of December, 2 weeks' time, Saturday the 6th of December, it is the final of the Carling Knockout Cup, where Orlando Pirates will play Maruma Gallants. Now, on to the Premier League, which, thank goodness, is back. And Arsenal are bracing themselves, and they're expecting to be without their defensive linchpin, Gabriel Magalhaes, when they lost London rival Spurs, when they host London rival Spurs on Sunday, as Manchester City seek to keep up the pressure on the Premier League leaders. Pep Guardiola's City could cut the Gunners' lead at the top of the table to just 1 point, at least for 24 hours. If they beat Newcastle, in which I guess will be a high-scoring game, reigning champions, Liverpool desperately need a win after 5 defeats in their last 6 Premier League matches, while Rob Edwards takes charge of his first match as Wolverhampton Warriors manager. So it promises to be an absolutely wonderful, wonderful weekend of Premier League football. The fixtures for you look like this. Early kickoff tomorrow, Burnley at home to Chelsea, 2:30. 5 o'clock kickoff, Bournemouth against West Ham, Brighton against Brentford, Fulham against Sunderland, Liverpool host Nottingham Forest, Wolves against Crystal Palace, and at 7:30 tomorrow night, Newcastle United versus Manchester City. On Sunday, Leeds United will host Aston Villa at 4 o'clock, while that big London derby, Arsenal against Spurs, that game, all United, Liverpool, Man City, Bournemouth fans will all be hoping that Spurs can pull one over Arsenal. And then on Monday evening, Old Trafford is the venue for Manchester United against Everton, which means there can be lots of movement at the top, middle and bottom of the table due to the spread of the fixtures this weekend. Arsenal top the table. They will be, irrespective of what happens this weekend, top of the table on Monday. They have a 4-point lead over Manchester City. Chelsea are 6 points behind Arsenal, with Sunderland a further point back on 19. Spurs on 18, Aston Villa and Manchester United, along with Liverpool, all on 18 points. 5, 6, 7, and 8 all have the same number of points. In fact, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have the same number of points. Bournemouth in there as well. And then bottom of the table, Wolves with 2 points. They are relegation doomed at the moment. Nottingham Forest have 9 points. They're also in big trouble, but they're not that far behind West Ham, Burnley, Leeds, Fulham, and even Newcastle. Newcastle have 12 points in 14th place, Fulham 11, along with Leeds in 15th and 16th, with Burnley 17th and West Ham 18th. The two of them have 10 points apiece. Promises to be a wonderful sporting weekend, promises to be fantastic action, and I guarantee you, whatever sport you are watching, you're going to enjoy, win or lose. Join us again on Monday evening as we review what we hope will be a magnificent sporting weekend. I'm not going to be biased here, but I am going to say go Boca and talk to you on Monday. As always, be nice to each other. Until next time, bye for now.